How I accidentally sold $100 million in NFTs.
So this talk is in 3 parts. Part 1 is called Bunk Beds and Bed Bugs. And the reason why it's called that is because it starts all the way back in 2017 when I was still kind of like a very poor startup founder. I was kind of looking for investors. I didn't have a whole lot of money. And what I was doing was I would try to scrounge up as much cash as I had and then go to San Francisco because back in those days, a lot of the action in crypto was really in the US. And I would go to San Francisco on a really tight budget, and I'd be sleeping in these dormitories or boarding houses, and there would be in bunk beds, and some of them felt like they actually had bed bugs in them, and that's why this section is called Bunk Beds and Bed Bugs. Now, because I was trying to save money, I really kind of wanted to kind of look for places to get free food. And one of the things that I started to do was I would go to every single crypto meetup that I could find in San Francisco. And this is a good tip for anyone who's trying to save money. If you show up to these crypto meetups, typically there is free food there. There's usually free pizza, sometimes there's free beer. And that means you don't have to pay for your dinner that night. So I would go up to every single one of these meetups, even though I didn't know anyone there. I tried to introduce myself to people. No one knew me, but whatever, it didn't matter. Back then, the San Francisco Bitcoin and crypto crowd was super friendly, right? So it was great. It was a nice time. I had lots of free pizza. One of these Thursday nights, and I actually remember this evening very distinctly in my brain now because it would have impact later on, there were a couple of Ethereum developers who came up to me in one of these meetups. So as I was stuffing my face with my free pizza, a couple of Ethereum developers came up to me and they started just chatting me up. Now, they were just talking about art on the blockchain, things like that. Concepts that are very well known to us now, but back then it wasn't really something that people had even really heard of. And they asked me, hey, didn't you say that you are a bit of an artist? Don't you do these cartoons about crypto and stuff like that? And yes, I did. My artist name is Cryptopop because I make these little cartoons and doodles about Bitcoin, and I make fun of the industry, and it's kind of my way to make this stuff a little bit easier and less intimidating. So I'd been doing that for about a year at that point, and they liked my art, and they said, hey, why don't you contribute some of that artwork to this Ethereum project that we're working on? We're gonna try to put art on the blockchain. No one's ever done that before, but whatever, let's just give it a try, okay? So let's see if this works. There you go. All right, so here's the timeline again, just in case you aren't following. 2017, that small team would eventually go on to create a tradable collection of digital art cards called CurioCards. So this is 2017. Now, here's the really funny part about that. Now, when I describe this stuff to you right now, you know what it is. It's just NFTs, right? But back then, that concept hadn't been coined yet. In fact, it was only the year after, in 2018, when Vitalik would actually write the white paper that describes NFT protocol. That is the thing that we are all using right now, but it was actually the year after CurioCards was created. So in many ways, CurioCards was actually the first version of this stuff before NFTs were even really invented, quote unquote. All right, so very interesting kind of situation. Now, okay, now here's the funny part about this story. I never really made any money from my art back then, right? It was just something that I liked to do because it was fun. It was something entertaining while I was on those 13-hour flights from the Philippines to the States. And I could do it on the back of an airplane tray table and just, have fun for a little bit, right? That's all that was in my head. I never made money from it. At the end of 2017, that CurioCards collection that's mentioned up here, that gone bankrupt because the industry had no idea what art on the blockchain even means. Why would I want to collect art on the blockchain? That was just too new a concept back then. I just dropped the microphone. Kind of bad timing. It would have been cooler if I was making a joke just then. Okay. This is not the audience that probably needs these definitions, but I'm just gonna kind of quickly describe NFTs for you. No? And usually when I describe NFTs to everyone, I usually say, forget the other letters in the name, just focus on the word token because the token is actually the important part. No? So a token is something that symbolizes something else. And in this case, it symbolizes ownership in something. This token is a digital certificate of ownership. And in the case of the CurioCards, it was a digital certificate of ownership in artwork on the blockchain, right? So that's kind of where we're at there. The other kind of nice thing about NFTs, it has these two very important qualities for artists. The first is that it allows you to track provenance. So provenance is history. Where has that artwork been before? Who else has owned it? And then there has the ability to pay royalties, which is also super useful if artists want to get a little bit of extra earnings from the art they have already sold. Okay? This is the CurioCards collection, just so everyone knows what I'm talking about. There were 30 cards all in all, and these are the three pieces that I contributed to the collection. So these are, I'll tell you guys, I'm not Leonardo da Vinci. It's fine, it's nothing amazing. But they were the first examples of art on the blockchain, okay? So here we go, part 2. And we're kind of zipping through this because I only have 10 minutes. Part 2, an overnight success, 4 years in the making. I'm gonna fast forward this story now. So we left the CurioCard story in 2017 when the company went bankrupt. Now, I wake up one morning in 2021, many things have changed. We've been in freaking lockdown for about a year. I'm not even living in Manila anymore. I'm living in La Union, which is like a surf town up north. I wake up and my Twitter account is blowing up because people are asking me, hey, aren't you one of the artists in that project from 2017 that did that thing, the dogs art, that CurioCards thing? And honestly, I had forgotten what that project was because it was 4 years before that. And as far as I remember, they did not make any money. And it turns out, actually, that was really the very first example of NFT ever in the NFT art ever in the history of blockchain that I had inadvertently joined because I was going to these free meetups where I was eating free pizza, right? Now, so for the first time in 2021, all of those CurioCards went back on sale on OpenSea. It was the first time in 4 years that they had come back. Now, I'm going to share with you 4 mind-blowing facts. Each one is going to blow your mind a little bit more. I'm going to try to go really fast. Okay, so here's the My CurioCards collection in OpenSea. As you can see, at the time when I took this screenshot, there was 38,000 Ethereum worth of sales volume. 38,000 Ethereum is about $100 million. So the CurioCards collection went on sale on OpenSea in 2021, 4 years after it had been first created, and it proceeded to make about $100 million. So that's the first mind-blowing fact. The second mind-blowing fact is the Philippine visual arts industry, the entirety of the country of the Philippines, all of the painters, all of the sculptors, if you put all of their earnings together on any given year, it's about $85 million. So what that means is that the CurioCards collection, this one NFT collection, made more money than the entire country of the Philippines in a single year, right? So that's a second mind-blowing fact. The third mind-blowing fact is, even with $100 million in sales, CurioCards is not in the top 20 of the best-selling NFT collections of all time. And what that tells me is, hey, if you think this stuff is just kind of a passing fad, you need to look at it a little bit more closely because even at $100 million in sales, we're not even in the top 20 most successful NFT collections. The final mind-blowing fact is, in 2022, the global NFT market had already expanded to $41 billion in sales. $41 billion. The global traditional art market is $60 billion. So that means that NFTs have only been around 3 or 4 years, right? They have nearly caught up to the size of traditional art, right? We're already at the point where it's nearly about 60% of the size of the global traditional art market. And that's just a massive kind of growth in such a short period of time. Some other small milestones that kind of happened in that same year. In October of 2021, CurioCards became the first NFT art collection that was auctioned off at Sotheby's. This is actually not Sotheby's, this is Christie's. It was auctioned both at Christie's and Sotheby's. At Christie's, it earned $1.1 million at auction. At Sotheby's, it earned about $650,000. So they were auctioned off within a few weeks of each other. So these guys are the most prestigious art auction houses in the world. Christie's is 400 years old, right? So that's just to give you a sense of kind of how well known these guys are. Now, the rest of these slides are a little bit more of like just how NFT art is doing in the Philippines right now. If you want to get a sense of how big crypto art in the Philippines has become, just look for the hashtag CryptoArtPH on both Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and you'll get a sense of kind of how many artists there are that are currently using this stuff. And there's a lot. Sorry, so part 3, 2.5 minutes, so I'm really zipping through this right now. I guess I kind of want to end this part here where I didn't really expect that of all of the different ways that I could become, kind of like well known because of crypto, it was because of the cartoons that I made while I was, traveling back and forth from the States to the Philippines. So that wasn't really what I was thinking in my mind. But crypto is a chaotic industry. It's a sunrise industry is what we call it, no? So a lot of this stuff is still being discovered. A lot of this stuff is still being invented. And sometimes within that chaos, we find miracles. Sometimes those miracles are small. Sometimes they are big. Sometimes they are life-changing. And I think that that's kind of what happened for some artists with NFTs. Very quickly after the CurioCards rediscovery, where it started to become really big on OpenSea, I got to do an NFT art collaboration with another artist named Jose Delbo. He's an Argentinian comic book artist. He used to draw Wonder Woman and some very well-known comic books back in the 80s and 90s. And we did a Satoshi the Creator collaboration, and that sold for about $440,000 in about 10 minutes. So this was on Nifty Gateway. A little bit later, I started collaborating with local artists. Heart Evangelista is a celebrity and painter, and we did this collaboration. This sold for, I guess together it was about 18 Ethereum. I think it was about, at the time it was about $60,000. So it was a very good take for Heart, and given that it was her first NFT ever. And then, sorry, let me just, this is another set that I did with, this is I don't know if you guys recognize this. This is a Netflix show called Trece. So this is a well-known Filipino comic book that was adapted by Netflix. And then we did a collaboration. This made, I think, about $20,000, this collection. Sorry, I'm just gonna zip through this. Okay, all right, I'm coming up to the end. What did I do with this, right? So it's kind of hard to tell sometimes what you're supposed to do when the universe just conspires to give you a boost, no? And in my case, it was actually a pretty dramatic boost because honestly, I'd never made that much money before in my life. And sometimes I think I might not ever be able to make that kind of money again. But it is what it is, right? It happened. So one of the things that I did very soon after all of this was I put together an art guild called the Cryptopop Art Guild. And this is an artist organization for underprivileged Filipino artists. So we interviewed something like 2,500 Filipino artists from around the country, many of them not from Metro Manila. And then we brought them in. We now have about 200 of them that are active in the guild. And what we do is we help them find their path, help them find their career in NFT art. So we help train them, we help them, kind of get used to the technology, and then we help them find work. So kind of my main role right now in the Cryptopop Art Guild is to teach people how to make a living as an NFT artist. So that's kind of what I've been doing right now. So these are nice examples of some of the work of our artists. And as you can see, like, this stuff is legit, right? These are not like just some random kids who like to draw. These are people who deserve to be well known. And the work that they've created is just wonderful. There's another picture there where they're actually using some of their first earnings from the guild to donate bread to kind of even more underprivileged communities in their neighborhood. So a big part of what we do at the guild is to give back whenever we are able to kind of earn from what we do. Last slide, sorry, here we go. And I'm out of time, I know, sorry, it's almost done. Web3 Metaversity. We are trying to teach people how to find their path in Web3, whether you are an artist, a content creator, a trader, programmer, or any of those other new jobs that have been made possible by Web3. Web3 Metaversity is a project of the company that I work for, Y2G. And you can search for us on Facebook, Web3 Metaversity. And yeah, that's it. Sorry that I didn't get to really dwell on it, but like I only had a few minutes. But hopefully that really kind of gave you guys a sense of how powerful NFTs and Web3 really are, especially in this side of the world. Thank you, and hope you found that entertaining. Thank you.